These are 10 craziest religious conspiracies theories. 10 craziest religious conspiracies ever told on JRE podcast. These are 10 craziest Amazon stories ever told on the Joe Rogan podcast. In episode number 1932, Joe Rogan listens as biologist Lex Tuttle recalls the night he hid from warriors, was hunted by jaguars, and escaped river bandits all during one expedition. So, the village that we were staying with, the guys informed me that now way up the river, 30 miles or so, there was an area that I would love to have collected in, but I couldn't.
Group and probably wouldn't be back for a couple of months. So I got brave and went up into their area where I didn't think they were going to be with a young man, Venezuelan, who worked for me. And we had just parked our dugout canoe on the bank and had gone out into the woods to set nets for bats. When we...
But a goodly number of you Yanomamo men coming down the trail. And we immediately thought, oh my God, we're going to be absolutely dead ducks if they find us. But I did know that they don't usually go after their quarry. They usually wait in ambush, so...
And we'll never know whether they were asleep or not because we did get shoved off and got away. But the very next night, we were stupid enough to think we had gone far enough.
A way that they wouldn't find us. And we went back and tried to net again. And then we heard jaguar noises. And I had a Yanomamo and a Mikari Indian working for
me. And they immediately started warning me. That's not Elt. That's the Indians that we're trying to avoid. And he's making jaguar noises, right? To communicate among themselves. Oh, wow. And but I insisted. I thought that these guys were
just trying to get out of work because I'd been working them pretty hard and that they wanted to go to bed early that night. So I didn't really take them very seriously. And I went off with my shotgun. Back then, we were collecting everything from jaguars to mice. And in those days, it was a big
macho thing to shoot a jaguar. So I go off with my shotgun to hunt the jaguar, and it kept moving too fast without noise in between. And I finally dawned on me that, hey, this more like Indians than jaguars to me even. I went back, and my guys were just ready to actually abandon me and leave me. They were so scared. Oh no, we didn't even take the nets down. We got out of there as fast as we could, went back to camp, and the next day when
we came back to get our nets, all the main strands of the nets had been stolen, proving that these were Indians that were after us, and we probably just got out in time. So that's the most danger you've ever been in. I don't know. I mean, there was the
time I was crawling into a cave and on my belly in a narrow passage, and all of a sudden found that there was a big cobra coming out, and I had to lay perfectly still so the cobra didn't get upset while he was going by. So you had to lay perfectly still where the CO cobra slithered by you.
Yeah, whoa, came after us. River bandits? Where was that?
That was in Venezuela, on the Costa Cari Canal. I'm getting into stories that probably ought to be told at another time when we're not distracting from bats. But, no, they're fun. We can go back to bats. Oh, put a long story shorter. The Costa Cari Canal is the world's longest natural canal. And out in the middle of it, there are just no humans around. And we were camped out there collecting for the Smithsonian. But I carried a lot of small cash to do business when I did come to where there were villages. The small cash was hidden in false bottoms of trunks. The way I got the cash, we were funded through a military
grant. And anybody that knows anything about the military knows they've got every restriction under the sun on their money and accounting for it. I had known that their rules weren't going to work very well for collecting. And so I'd gotten bids from plane charter companies to fly us out to this remote savannah. And they were going to charge a lot of money because it was risky to the planes. And so I got the military to send the money to the Bank of America and caucus. And then this was time when you had machine guns at the door of every bank. And I mean, it was a dangerous time in Venezuela, period. Well, we pretended to change Christmas gifts.
And that's how we got our money into small change and took it back to our hotel. Then we put it in false bottoms of trunks. Then we go out to the frontier, and after a while the word kind of gets around that these guys can always pay for something. They must have some secret supply of money. So one day we're out at this remote camp, and my Venezuelan helpers, Indians, came running up saying, oh, you know, in Spanish, Cato, the vandal, not vandals, but the robbers are coming. And they were coming up the river in a little motorized dugout. So that's how my guys heard them in time to know that they were coming, and then they saw them and realized who they were. And you...
So I had just a couple minutes. It's kind of interesting because I was reared to be a conscientious objector and, didn't believe in fighting in war and you. So here we are with the bandits coming armed with shot. It was kind of interesting. They had old muzzleloader guns that they actually used rocks and black powder still to shoot. But here they're coming. And I'm responsible for 8 or 10 people, their lives. And am I going to be a conscientious objector, or what am I going to do? And so I broke out all the guns we had, gave everybody one of, everything from an M1 rifle to a couple double-barreled shotguns, pistols, and got everybody positioned B behind rocks and logs. And then, as the bandits approached, I yelled down to them in Spanish that we understood who they were, and if they touched that rock, we're going to kill them. And they kept coming. And so I finally had everybody
show themselves in their guns and yelled one more time. And the last time I yelled, they were within a meter of hitting the bank. And at that point, we'd have had to kill them. Whoa. But they finally, at the last minute, when they saw they were outgunned and we had the upper hand, they backed up and went, we'd have had to kill them. Whoa. But they finally, at the last minute, when they saw they were outgunned and we had the upper hand, they backed up and went off. That ought to be hair-raising. It was. But I learned a lot about my conscientious objector ideas. You're ready to abandon it. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You going to let good people die just because you don't believe in firing a gun at a human? Yeah, that's a good point, right? Is it a very important lesson to learn, right? Yeah, it was an important one for me.
But boy, you've had some pretty amazing experiences just studying bats around the world. It's been a wild life, I bet. Huh. Well, I've never chosen to get myself into big adventures, but the adventures chose you. One of my all-time favorite things to do is to go places where almost nobody's ever been. Like when I went out to see the Shamatari Indians, I had to hike 46 miles across country from the last Yanomamama village to get out there and see them. And I just went out there. I mean, I knew it was dangerous. How dangerous, I didn't know, but I just was driven by curiosity. Here's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to see a group of people that have only seen 2 other outsiders in their whole existence. And it was just so much fun going out there and experiencing that kind of thing. But I certainly got into high adventure while I was out there. Yeah, that sounds amazing. So you had to hike. How long did it take you to hike 46 miles to get to them?
Well, we did it in a day and a half. I had a 40-pound pack. We went extra fast because I did not know when we started on the trip that the reason that these 2 Shamatari came out to visit our Yanomamo group because they were looking for allies in a battle. They're expecting to be raided by another tribe. Whoa. And I didn't know this is why they were there. But when I asked through my interpreters, and let me point this out too, when you watch a movie and they're speaking pidgin English, there's no such thing as a place where people are really Aboriginal and you're speaking pidgin English to them. Everything I said on that whole trip out there had to be translated by me from English to Spanish, and then from Spanish to Mikater, from Makari to Yanomamama, and from Yanomama to Shamatari. Oh my God. You can imagine there were a few miscommunications. Oh my God. So, what year was this? This was
happening? This was 1967. Okay. So clearly there's no cell phones, no other ways of communicating, right? Wow. So we did not know that these guys were expecting an attack until we had already left with them to go out to their village. Oh boy. And what we eventually found was that the reason they welcomed us so strongly was that they thought we'd bring our bang sticks with us and guns and be good in the battle. Oh boy. And so by the time we got there, well, we found out we had to camp out along the trail the first night. And we found out that